Hello teacups, what's brewing? Welcome back to the channel. Took a few days there. I found her podcast arc to be quite boring. I'm not entirely sure why I find it worse than having her physically on stream saying exactly the same thing, but I do. I just find it harder. But given that she has been using that avatar, I'm just going to do this recap style because one, her lives have been unnecessarily long considering how little there was to talk about. So I've kind of dipped in and out of them, but I found it quite difficult. And two, there doesn't seem much point putting up the avatar and having the physical recording. So there we are. So I'm focusing on the one she did most recently, the health update. I think it was called Late Night Beezing. I've actually forgotten to write the title down. Sorry about that. But it's the one where she shows the picture of her going to the clinic. She said she went back today. I thought she was meant to go for daily shots and she hadn't been doing that. A little bit later, she does say it's every other day, which wasn't what I remember, but I did tap out of the other podcast when she started talking about healing herself with sunlight. Like, why does she always go for the worst social media green juice, like organic salt made from the sweat of hummingbirds kind of nonsense whenever she decides she wants to get healthy? I can't explain it. She's just too easily influenced, I suppose. But she does love herself a bit of misleading pseudoscience. Apparently she streamed this at an odd time for her and she defends staying up late. I'm not sure why. It sounds very teenager to be like, I can stay up as late as I want to. Well, yes, you're an adult with no responsibilities. Your schedule will probably only exacerbate the problems you have filling your time with things that aren't killing you, but it is what it is. She mentions, and this is completely true, that the weekends here are Friday, Saturday, because Friday is considered the holy day, so you have that first. What that tends to mean is most services are closed on a Friday, but things like malls and supermarkets and stuff like that will be open. Sometimes the hours differ, it depends. And during Ramadan, opening hours tend to be lessened. So people often won't open until the afternoon, or they will just stay closed during certain days. She said she's still in a lot of pain and she has to get dressed for the clinic in stages, which doesn't sound nice at all. She takes a minute to read a comment and then clarifies that the commenter is not dumb, but that the comment is. Like, big difference. Well done. This seems to be a comment designed to trigger her, to be completely honest, but you know, she addresses it, so good job. I think it's about her like camming up, and she says, well, the quote is, half of the majority don't cam up. And I'm like, Chantal, tell me what specific amount is that? She has a little bit of a side rant about the stupidity of reactors and how they don't cam up, but clarifies that the reason is not that she's being abused, which is apparently either a rumor that's going around or the rumor they chose to bring to her chat to try and get her to address it. Like maybe Salah has put his foot down physically and figuratively after everything that's happened. I don't think it's likely, but there you go. So she puts up a picture to prove she was in the clinic and it's her in a wheelchair. She tells us she did a weigh-in and she's gonna release a vlog about it. The clinic has a weird kind of wall decal paper something to make it look kind of distressed and like stone. I'm guessing it's weird, but I'm guessing it's supposed to make the place look a little less sterile. The clinic looks a little bit rough, but in defense of that, I suppose a lot of the kind of like tiles and things you tend to see in these places that are there so they can be cleaned more easily don't tend to look the best. You either have a very glossy, very high-end thing, or you have a very practical working thing, and she seems to be in the latter. Twitter has pointed out that the wall behind her does not line up, so she has probably edited the photo to adjust how she looks at it. She says, or at least I think she did say, that it hurt to sit, but for some reason doesn't consider getting out of the wheelchair. And it's odd because I'm sure at some point during my in and out on one of her live streams, she said that standing was easier. And that seems to agree with the comments I've been getting saying that bed rest doesn't help sciatica. I always want to pronounce that wrong. Don't know why. If I do, I apologize. So the answer to that would seem bed rest would not be helpful. However, she would literally rather do anything than move. So she says standing and sitting are ouchy ouch. I'm assuming that's the technical term. And to be fair to her, that could be completely true. The fact of the matter is, there may be no comfortable position, but there might be better positions to help long term. And it's one of those cases where you have to suffer, but it might get better. But from everything I've heard from people who have experienced this condition, bed rest doesn't seem to be what people suggest. I'm not a doctor, but there we have it. She says that clinics and hospitals are kind of the same. You can get treatment from both, but I think it really depends what kind of treatment she wants and what she can access under her visa status. Sorry, I've got something going on with my... there we go. So sometimes they can serve the same purpose, but as a tourist, she can go into a clinic and she can pay. She may have less choice over her treatment because she doesn't have the paperwork to access certain things. She doesn't have the residency, which I suppose explains, aside from the obvious reasons of no one wanting surgery if they can avoid it, but why she's trying to avoid surgery particularly. And part of me doubts that they would treat a tourist surgically if it wasn't an absolute emergency. Hence all the natural remedies she's been looking up, I suppose. She's trying to improve her condition enough to get by. She was told that her pain is usually from a bulged disc, but there's a conversation later about how she hasn't had imaging, which seems really strange. If that's what it usually is, they would need imaging. I actually have a co-worker at the moment that's been having problems with pain in his leg and his foot kind of going numb. And he actually, the only time he's not in pain is when he's walking around, so he doesn't like to sit. But his doctor basically said, look, there are two options of this. There's physio and there's surgery. And how we look at it, if we classify it as white, it means physio will fix it. If it's grey, maybe physio will, maybe it won't. We can try it, but you might need surgery. If it's black, you're going to need surgery. And he's like, you need surgery. You are in the latter section. So it's going to be 2 weeks off work for him, which is going to be a pain. But not really the point of this video, but just to say he's going through something similar and there are treatments for it, but you need imaging to see how bad things are. Very suspiciously, doesn't know what the shot she's getting for is because it's written in Arabic. She says the staff don't speak English, which has not been my experience at all in the Middle East. Even if the prescription is in Arabic or the box is in Arabic, every doctor I have ever been to in any Middle Eastern country has spoken at least some English. Usually quite well for what they need to do. A lot of them train abroad. A lot of them come in as foreigners themselves because there are really good packages for skilled workers. And particularly with the percentage of people who are foreigners and residents in Kuwait, which is really high, it would be unbelievably, and that is the key word there, unusual to not have enough English to at least basically explain what's happening here. Because remember, she's got Salah, so she could discuss it with Salah and have it translated. I know in some countries they don't allow for that. My friend in America, her mom can speak English, but she's her power of attorney. She wants to make sure that she's got all the information, and she had to register as her mom's official translator. It doesn't tend to be a problem here as far as I know. I haven't looked into it a lot, but at the very least, they would have to get the message through to her because they'd need to check, she didn't have allergies or anything. So a conversation would have to be had about what they want to do to her. I don't believe that all the information is not available. Certainly, most medications are, or most boxes of anything, are usually bilingual here. In fact, I can probably show you that. So here are just a sample of medications that I happen to have in my box. So I've got this cream, and then it's English on this side, and when you turn it, you've got the Arabic on here. This is my acid reflux medication, so I've got the English side, and then you've got the Arabic side over here. And again, around the edges, you have it in Arabic here, and you have it in English here. And then when you've got a Western brand, something like this, even though on the back it's predominantly English, you also have the Arabic and the Arabic for the instructions. I'm not saying that every medicine ever has been translated. If it's produced in the Middle East, there's a chance it might not have English translation, but most things do. But in the basic term of, hey, advocate for yourself and know what's happening to your own body, why would you not ask a question? So I don't believe this whole thing of, oh, I'm just not sure. It just means for whatever reason she doesn't want to share it. And with the amount of choice of private clinics available everywhere, if one clinic didn't explain to her or couldn't communicate with her, which as I say would be very unusual, at the very least she could go to another clinic that could. There's no reason not to. She also said a weird thing where she needs to go in this is where she said every other day, for injections and vitamins. And I was like, why on earth would she need vitamins? And she said something about it, it's probably B12, which I didn't understand why she would need B12. Now, somebody on Twitter linked an article and a study, I think it was, and it was looking at B12 deficiency and deep vein thrombosis. So it's possible that it's actually connected to her flight, and she's got a history of blood clots. She might have thrown a blood clot somewhere, and maybe that's what they're trying to do. I don't know if that's the case. I'm not a doctor. I don't know much about it. But if she's willing to say she's bedbound, why not just tell the truth about that? And I suppose the answer is, why doesn't she tell the truth about anything? It's just what she does. But I think it would be a reasonable explanation, and there's no real need to hide it if it was a case of, no, the plain Jones means that I might have a blood clot. I do have a history of them, so they're treating me for that. B12 is a very specific vitamin to guess, unless if there's someone more medically minded than me in the chat, you can tell me that she has another condition that she was supposed to be on B12 for, maybe. I'm not sure. She does say that she thinks the overseas flight made it worse, and she guesses it's not a good idea for her to travel for that long, which might be because she has more information than she's admitting to, but I couldn't tell you why she'd hide it. Or I couldn't tell you why she'd hide this and not the other stuff. Beeze says it goes away on its own, and it takes about a month for their personal flare-up of sciatica to go away. Good thing Chantal has chat as a medical reference, right? Instead of listening to the doctor, that'd be great. But then if obviously she can't understand the doctor, this is the next best thing. She says she could do content on Islam if people are interested. I think someone suggested it in chat. I am not interested in that, and I doubt she's got enough information to do it well. This was a slightly shocking part of the proceedings, right? She's talking about how she thinks she's going to get a cane, not a walker, just like a cane, because she thinks leaning on it will take the pressure off going around the apartment. And she wants a grabber because if she drops stuff, it stays there. And she laughs, and I cannot believe how chill she is about just accepting this as her new reality. Like, it's actually shocking. Foodie is younger than me by, I don't know, half a year, 3/4 of a year, something like that. I'm 40, she's 39. I cannot imagine, A, being in this position, but B, not being terrified of being in this position, where you're not even saying, like when she had that little buggy, I'll do this when I go out because going out is hard, but like needing the help to get around your apartment, and your only response is laughing about potentially bedazzling the cane. Like, how are you not in a complete sense of panic at that? She's not old. She's just at the end of her 30s. And I'm not like ragging on anyone who needs physical assistance around the house, because there are many situations where that might be an appropriate choice for you. But she's just eating herself into immobility. This should be, she should have had a wake up long before now, but losing your mobility like that, saying I need a cane to get around my house, when most of her physical ailments are very much self-inflicted, should be terrifying, and at the very least should be serious. She's too hurt to cook, but can shuffle to the kitchen or call Salah to get bread and cheese, etc. God forbid she go without cheese. She says that they order one big meal, and then she might just call Salah to get, he knows the things she likes. I'm like, what a set of priorities. I can't move. I'm practically bedbound. I'm a disabled 40-year-old woman. I think it was the term she used. But, I'll break through the pain, not to go to the clinic more frequently or go get the imaging I need, but to go get the cheese out the fridge. That is the priority she has. People question if Salah will always be around, and she says Salah works, not in the traditional sense of needing to be out for the work day though. And if he goes out, he can keep his phone on alert in case something happens. And a user called Pano Chocolat says, is he still selling soap? And she immediately goes, soap? No, it's fragrance. Apparently confirming that he's still involved with the perfume business. I don't know, but that's what it seemed to be. She says now they probably will get some help around the house, talking about like the maid she was going to get and then changed her mind on. I guess because she's in this position. At this point, Lexi in the chat asks why she's not getting a scan and if she's scared, and she completely ignores the comment. Someone asks if the pets are being taken care of, and she says that she takes care of Howie because he's high up in his cage, and Salah takes care of the cat because her stuff is lower down. And then, in a very confident move on her part that will not work, she tries to rewrite history as to the reason BBJ's food was all over the floor, and that it was because she couldn't reach the ground properly. So when she used to like drop it from a slight height, it used to spill all over the floor, and she should have just had some raised bowls. As I remember it, and she might have had dry food on the floor as well, maybe, but as I remember it, even if she was physically limited in the villa, and she admitted to needing Pete's to put her socks on, so it's entirely possible she had the cat's food up on the counter, because I thought that was gross. And there was a lot of conversation at the time about making her elderly cat, who was also arthritic, jump up to the counter to get the food. And if I remember, it was actually Timbit's food that was a mess all around the feeding dish, because we had that picture of it on cardboard in Pete's room, and it was awful. So it feels like a few facts that she's mixed up there to try and make it seem better. This is the first time she says she won't stay on long. She's only about halfway through the stream at this point, so don't hold your breath, because she wants to get her vlog edited and her weigh-in out. I checked before I started recording. It is not currently out, and the live has been up for a little while, but it might be that it comes out later this evening, perhaps. It's only 6:15 my time, so I think it's about 7:15 her time. Probably by the time I've finished editing this, something will be up. Lexi is still in chat saying, you keep avoiding me asking if you had a scan, and Chantal admits she didn't. I wonder why not, again. If they're saying she needs repeated injections of certain things, how would they know that if they hadn't scanned you? And I could be wrong in that, they might not need to, but she's got a lot of excuses. She says she has a fear, this makes no sense, she has a fear of being injured more by laying in an MRI. But she's literally saying she's bedbound, she's laying down for most of the day, so I don't really understand that logic. Is the fear that she won't fit in the machine? Because she's claimed that she does fit in the machine. And if she's scared of lying down, why on earth is she lying down now? It sounds like she just doesn't want to and she's trying to justify it. She gives a general vague, I have anxiety about it excuse, and tries to tell us a story from 2009 where apparently she was on a stretcher or something and someone knocked her over. I don't know exactly, but it sounds like nonsense. Could it be that she can't access the scan? I mean, I would imagine she would be able to if she paid, but I'm imagining that as a resident, I could if I paid, but actually, I've got health insurance. It might be covered by health insurance. I'm not sure. I haven't needed an MRI since I've been here, okay? Not good. But as a tourist, I don't know what the limitations are for her. The healing plan is apparently eat nutritious food, lose some weight, move or do exercises in bed. Again, if exercises or movement are the answer, and they may well be the answer, get out of bed and accept that it will hurt, but it's the lesser of two evils. Move as much as I can, again, and time heals it. Which, to be fair, is slightly more reasonable than the last stream when she was like, have the anti-inflammatory food and use sunlight to heal myself. Like, neither of them should really be taken care of by her. The natural remedies might fall a little short for this kind of stuff, but if it's what she has, then it's what she has. Someone does suggest a massage, and I would be very careful pressing on anything if she's in that much pain without a professional there. I do realize that masseuses are professionals, but in terms of medically speaking for like therapy, I would maybe leave that to a doctor or a nurse or whoever. Again, says she's pretty sure it's sciatica, but hasn't had imaging testing to check it. So she doesn't know. Could be a clot from the plane, could be a number of things. Just keep getting the mystery injections, hey? She says she will go back if it doesn't start to improve at all, if the natural remedies aren't working. I'm not sure what she's hoping for at this point. I don't know the reason that they're putting off not finding out more unless there's a reason that they won't, which she would never admit because it would be tantamount to admitting that she's been lying to us about her status, even if we know it. People talk a little about the gastric bypass, but she says she would have to be in Canada and she's not going there. So there we have it. She says she watches DC Media Girl, and somebody says that she had lost a case in court. Chantal says that's nothing to do with her. She doesn't get involved in the drama. And yet she seems to know all the background drama stories behind, like FFG, Yaba, Beeze. Who else does she hate? Gorlick, although I suppose those two are connected. Like, she pays attention when she wants to and she thinks she wants to use it. She talks a little about how she didn't used to care about showing everything online and how she made a decent amount of money on her OnlyFans for the little bit of content she did. Yeah, because remember at the time her argument was, like, I'm doing OnlyFans, I didn't promise a certain amount of content. There is physically content there. And she did have some awful pictures up there, but there weren't very many. And people, once you pay the membership, you're paying the membership. She shows the picture from the clinic again and says this is what she looks like today. And again, I remind you that the wall behind shows that it's edited. And she is sure, as she vocally rolls her eyes, that it will be in a lot of thumbnails, which I'm sure was not her intent when she showed it twice and pointed out that it could be a thumbnail. Desert Rose asks why she gets a lot of hate, and Chantal says that people insert themselves and she did nothing to these people. Hating her is lucrative, which can be true, but people have some things to say about her gaps in her memory in this regard. Blue Pot is really keen to hear about the dentist for some reason. I'm actually going to the dentist tomorrow. I'm a little bit sad. I don't know exactly what I did, but yesterday I touched my tongue to my back tooth and I noticed I've got a little notch there. I haven't had work done on that tooth before, so I'm guessing I caught it on something, or there's a weak spot that's finally become a cavity or whatever. So I've got to go and see if they'll take a walk in tomorrow morning. I've got a taxi with a friend who's going to the dentist for some work there at like 10. So I'm hoping to kind of get the filling done because that will be important to do now because it's not hurting me right now, but I don't want to leave it. And I've got some other dental work I've been wanting to do for a while. I want to talk to them and just get an idea of like timeline and pricing, and then I can decide, depending on how bad it will be, in all senses, I can decide if I want to do it now or if I want to save up for a little bit and set it up for the summer when I don't have to worry about going to work. All that to say, I wouldn't be adverse to hearing about a dentist experience. Actually, I'm not sure why Blue Pot is obsessed with it, but I went to one in Saudi and I'm interested to know if it's typical. Someone called JB in the chat is giving some pushback about her saying, hey, I don't do anything to these people. And she asked quite defensively, I don't know if you're just not listening correctly, which is clearly the issue, and starts to get kind of annoyed. She talks about getting off soon because obviously she's going to have a tantrum. People basically are telling her, you know, she should take ownership of the things she has also done. And her response to that is that everyone says bad things. And, you know, she tends to do it in response to things people have said to her. And she doesn't go real life, which I snorted. She just does her content. And if you believe that, you are very, very new to this space. JB is still responding, saying, so what, ignore it. And she says she does because we never hear her talking about reactors, right? And but it's not right. And she signs off shortly after that. So there we have, that's the recap. I do hope that the podcast era is over soon, but laziness is her default. And although I'm sure she's in pain at the moment, and I get why she wouldn't want to kind of get dressed if she realizes she can do it without, but it's kind of a dangerous realization for us because in the summer where she's just hot and doesn't want to deal with it, there's a good chance she could go back to this because it's just easier for her and laziness always wins. So we'll see. I hope I'm wrong, but I might not be. I guess we'll find out. And I wouldn't mind a vlog from her at the moment, which sounds crazy to say, but there we are. Okay, everybody, thank you very much. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.